So many brilliant articles and in memoriam have been written in the last week about Philip Roth and his life as a writer. The one I'm going to recommend is an article from the New York Times which collects the favorite novel or in general Philip Roth book by a variety of all-stars writers and reviewers, including people such as Richard Foer, Jonathan Lethem, Joyce Carol Oates, Jonathan Safran Foer, Michiko Kukatani. Apparently American Pastoral is at the top of many people's lists, and I can definitely see why. Patrimony, Roth a memoir book about the life of his father, is also a personal favorite of several writers, including Michael Chabon, which is not mentioned in that list. If I have to give a personal favorite, I'd probably go with either The Plot Against America or The Great American Novel, but number one, I'm a bit of an idiot, and number two, I've only really read a handful of Philip Roth's novels. The fact that I still have to read so much of Philip Roth's bibliography, it's like with other writers, it's like with writers such as Umberto Eco, Salman Rushdie, Orhan Pamuk. It's always a joy when I remember that, oh yeah, I still have to read all those books, because I'm 100% sure I'm going to have great fun with all of those. Speaking of Michael Chabon, personal favorite of mine, he recently published a collection of essays on fatherhood called Pops. Came out, I think, on the 13th of May. I still haven't read it, though I've read several of the articles in the collection which he published in the course of the last few years. I don't think I'm going to post a review, because my guess is that not many of the people watching my videos are that interested in non-fiction about fatherhood, but who knows. And lots of reviews and articles on Chabon have been published in the last few weeks. I'm going to point you in the description box, of course, at a specific one, an interview on The Guardian, where Chabon talks about the collection, but he talks more broadly about his habits as a reader, about writers he turns back to very often, about his experience as a reader when he was a kid. By the way, what's up with Americans and Harriet the Spy? What's the deal with this book? It's not like I don't get it, it's an excellent book, it's just that it doesn't seem to me like the kind of book children should obsess over so much, but who knows? One must-read article/think piece I'm going to recommend this month. It's not actually from this month at all, it's an ancient one from 2016, I think, which I only unearthed actually earlier this morning. It's an article by Matt Margini, I think it's an album by Matt Margini on Public Books, where he discusses the idea of writing about video games. The article is going to be especially interesting, of course, if you care about video games, but it's a must-read for anyone who's interested in cultural studies and in criticism of pop cultural forms such as pop music, television series, popular movies, all those kinds of things. I recently presented a paper on Stranger Things, of all things, at a conference, and I realized that cultural studies is not the thing for me. It went well, I think. People were very kind, but I realized I much prefer to stick to books. I already feel like an imposter enough with literature without tapping into other media. But the problem with cultural studies is that it's often very difficult to find articles or critical pieces that deal with their topics in a way that is clear, it's informative, it doesn't rely too much on truisms, and it's not symptomatic. This is something I talked about in a recent videos on a few short introductions to literary criticism. This fact that in cultural studies often people tend to use the artifacts they study, be it TV series or video games, as symptoms of broader cultural situations. So that, for instance, the fact that video games in the noughts were especially violent is a consequence of the fact that war in the Middle East had made people used to violence, which is not like it's necessarily untrue, and definitely says a lot about society, and there's something to be said about all that, but it doesn't say much about the medium itself. It treats the medium, it treats these cultural artifacts just as, I don't know, case studies, as something that has to be exploited to explain away a certain condition. Whereas the point of criticism, in my opinion, should be to show how beautiful things, beautiful entertaining cultural artifacts are actually even more beautiful than you thought they were. But hey, that's one take, and Matt Margini's article actually shows how to talk and discuss video games in an interesting, enlightening way that it's not superficial and goes quite in-depth when it comes to approaching them, and also references a few books and collection of essays that already do that. Next one is an article by Tom McAllister, a rather humorous piece. You're going to have great fun reading it, called "Who is Going to Buy Your Book?" or something like that. It's especially interesting, of course, if you are a writer or an aspiring writer, but it is once again relevant to anyone who makes any kind of product that people are supposed to enjoy, whether you film videos on YouTube, whether you write articles on websites, whether you, I don't know, compose songs. Very often these things tend to be stuff you dedicate a lot of time to and think about a lot, and there's always this assumption that people are going to be interested in them, even just people in your life, your friends and your family. And the article by Tom McAllister enlightens you on the fact that very often people, even people close to you, are not going to pay attention to what you do because they have other stuff on their mind, and because they do not necessarily care that much about what you do, and that is absolutely fine. It doesn't make them assholes, it doesn't make them horrible people. It happened to me too. I mean, it happened to me that I maybe filmed a video. I'm thinking in particular about my review of Elder Horror. What's wrong with you people? That was a good review. You know, you post a video on YouTube and you go, oh, this one is going to be, you know, to interest several people. I'm going to get many comments, and no one cares. It's just a small experience, you know, mine with my silly YouTube videos, but I'm sure you can relate to that on other fronts, whatever it is you do, whatever it is that you work on. And finally, The Millions has published another article by yours truly on a personal obsession of mine, which is Goosebumps books. I talk a bit about my experience reading Goosebumps. I talk about the fact that in spite of being the second best-selling book series in history apparently, they do not share that critical acclaim of series such as Harry Potter, most notably, but also stuff such as the Hunger Games, Philip Pullman's books for children and such. And I discuss a few of the lessons I learned from reading Goosebumps books as a kid, both in terms of narrative and literary style and such, and in terms of actual life lessons. If you do read the article, let me know what you think. And thank you, as always, for watching, guys. Coming up on my channel next will be my review of Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell, which is just... It's probably coming next week, and in the meanwhile, have fun, have a great week. Thanks for watching once again. Bye, guys.